Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, entitled Vidura's Talks with Maitreya, Text 25. That's July 1st, 2023, beginning a new masa, a new month. Text 25, Chapter 5 of Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sa va etasya samdrashtu shakti satasat atmika mayanama mahabhaga yaya idam nirmame Vibhu Sava etasya samdrashtu Shakti sadasad atmika Maya nama mahabhaga Yayedam nirmame vibhu Sava etasya samdrashtu Shakti sadasad atmika Maya nama mahabhaga Yayedam nirmame vibhu Sava etasya samdrashtu Shakti sadasad atmika Maya nama mahabhaga Yayedam nirmame vibhu Sava etasya samdrashtu Shakti sadasad atmika Maya nama mahabhaga Yayedam nirmame vibhu. Would someone online like to chant?
Sava etasya samdrashtu
Sava etasya samdrashtu
Shakti sada sadatmika
Shakti sadasad atmika
Maya nama mahabhaga
Maya nama mahabhaga
Yayedam nirmame vibhu.
Yayedam nirmame vibhu. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 25. Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 25. Would anyone else like to chant the verse? We'll go to the word for word, Text 25. Sa, that external energy, Va, is either, Etasya, of the Lord, Samdrashtu, of the perfect seer, Shakti, energy, Sadasat Atmika, as both the cause and the effect, Maya Nama, called by the name Maya, Mahabhaga, O fortunate one, Yaya, by which, Idam, this material world, Nirmame, constructed, Vibhu, the Almighty. Translation. The Lord is the seer, and the external energy which is seen works as both cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. O greatly fortunate Vidura, this external energy is known as Maya or illusion, and through her agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The material nature, known as Maya, is both the material and efficient cause of the cosmos. But in the background, the Lord is the consciousness for all activities. As in the individual body, the consciousness is the source of all energies of the body. So the supreme consciousness of the Lord is the source of all energies in material nature. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10 as follows. Maya dyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kanteya jagadviparivartate. Throughout all the energies of material nature, there is the hand of the Supreme Lord as the final superintendent. Due to the supreme cause only, the activities of material nature appear planned and systematic, and all things regularly evolve. Okay. Om Anganatirmirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Pancha Kalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nicham Bhagavata Seveya Bhagavat Yutamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 25. Sava etasya samdrashtu shakti sada sadatmika mayanama mahabhaga yayedam nirmame vibhu. The Lord is the seer, and the external energy which is seen works as both cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. Oh, greatly fortunate Vidura, this external energy is known as Maya or illusion, and through her agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible. So, okay, so the Lord is the seer and the external energy which is seen. So there's the seer and the seen. So there's the seer and the seen. For those who just joined, we're on text 25, Canto 3, Chapter 5. So there's the seer and the seen. So what's these concepts? So we can rightly say that that all our problems and miseries is because we're confusing the seer and the seen. That's what it all comes down to, 100%. Yes, it does. Okay, so the seer and the seen. So just like, okay, the purpose of analogy is to understand something easy to understand, to help us understand something more difficult. So in a dream, so when we're dreaming, we're completely, that person that we see in the dream, that's us. That's us. We're that person, whatever we're doing in the dream. Maybe it's a nice dream, not a nice dream. Okay. All right. But we're not that person in the dream. We're actually the seer. We're seeing that person. And then we wake up. When we wake up, we realize, oh, I wasn't that person in the dream. I was the dreamer. I was the seer. I'm actually this person. But this is also a dream. This is also a dream. Okay. So just like we say, no, so I'm thinking I'm this body, just like in the dream, I was thinking that I'm that dream body person, completely convinced of it. So I'm completely convinced that I'm this body. Yayo sam ohito jivo atmakam chi gunatmakam that mayam chayada hetukam. So Vyasadeva, when he went into his bhakti yoga meditation after talking to his spiritual master Narada Muni, he went into bhakti yoga trance, and he saw that the suffering all the time in the material creation, especially in Kali Yuga, is that the living entities are completely confused, thinking the seen is the seer. Okay, so, and this is basic stuff here, right? Basic stuff that the finger and the owner of the finger. We don't say I finger, they say my finger. So there's two entities. There's the finger, there's the owner of the finger. Tihinosmi yatadehe komaram yovinamjara titadehantara praptirdirastatra namuyati. So as the embodied soul, that's the seer. I mean, here the Supreme Lord's the seer, but we're getting to that. Spirit is the seer, matter is the seen. And of course, spirit soul, Prabhupada would often quote Bhakti Siddhanta, like, don't try to see Krishna. Krishna appears before me. I saw Krishna in the bush, like that. No. Try to act in a way where Krishna is seeing us. Try to act in a way where Krishna is noticing, such a sincere, humble servant. So we can also be seen, the spirit soul. So as the embodied soul continually passes from childhood to youth to old age, right, just like the dream body has a beginning, it's ephemeral, has an end. Similarly with this body, it's also a sort of dream body, temporary. Okay, so the soul simply passes into another body at the time of death. The sober person means one who's not confusing the seen and the seer. The sober person is not bewildered. The self-realized person is not bewildered. So we can have some sense, I'm not this leg. I use the leg for walking. I'm not the hand. I use the hand for picking things up. Okay. So I'm that non-material entity, that conscious entity. So just like, again, we can say, there's this, we read these statements from Srila Prabhupada before chanting japa. There's one we read a lot about seeing, right? So we say, the glasses see, but we know, no, the glasses don't see. No, I see, and I see through the glasses. So there's a lecture where Prabhupada says, it's not the eye that sees this ball. He gets physiological about it, this ball in the in some liquid in the eye socket. Really, the eyes, the ears. That's the eyes are not the seeing sense. The eyes are the seat of the seeing sense. The ears are the seat of the hearing sense. So just like it's not the glasses that see, the glasses cannot see. The glasses are seen. The glasses are an instrument. It's dead matter. Okay, of course, in every atom, there's the super soul, but we're not going there here right now. So, so similarly, it's not the eyes that see. The eyes are dead matter. Just like, let's say, if we could create a machine. I'm sure machines have been created, right, where exposed to a certain stimulus and frequency, the machine will make the sound, I see red, I see red. Okay, but the machine is not seeing red. The machine's not seeing red. To actually have an experience of red means the machine's not having an experience of red. Similarly, the eye, just like the eyeglasses, doesn't have an experience of brown. The ear doesn't have an experience. It's actually the spirit soul inside that has an experience of the sensory objects. And we experience through the material senses. The material senses, that's not the actual experiencer or the seer. The experiencer or the seer. All right. So we can understand, all right, yeah, so it requires a conscious intelligence to actually have that experience, to actually move things, okay? Just like, because I'm a conscious entity, I can move this watch or this book stand, okay, right? But the watch on its own won't move. The book stand on its own won't move because there's no seer, there's no experiencer there. Okay. All right. So all of self-realization, genuine self-realization, Krishna consciousness, it's about moving us to realization from misidentification with the seen, the matter, the dream, to true identification with the experiencer, the seer, the seer. All right. So, okay, yeah, so I'm this experiencer. Now we can say, and I remember at I think it was the most recent program at Govinda and Damayanti's, we made this point about consciousness. So that the experience of sight stimuli and smell stimuli and oral stimuli, and the experience is real. Consciousness is real. We can't deny it. And as Prabhupada so wonderfully points out, says like, okay, well, and Krishna points out, the seer, the experiencer, is the term used in consciousness studies, is an epiphenomenon of a combination of matter. In text 25, 26, 27, 28 of chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna addresses the epiphenomenon philosophy. He says, okay, Arjuna, even if you think that matter arises from, that consciousness arises from a combination of matter, fight anyway, because everything has, you might as well do your duty, everything has a beginning in it. But Krishna says, that's not valid philosophy. So the fact is, no one has ever combined matter to create a conscious experiencer. It's never been done, because consciousness, the experiencer, it's irreducible. It's not amenable to mechanistic, reductionistic, deterministic explanations. Okay, all right. So I'm the seer, and I'm the experiencer, and thus I'm able to do whatever I want. That's not true. Okay. Even we talk about seeing. So I'm seeing different things. Talk about hearing, right? But I'm so limited. Like if I wanted to fly like a bird, no, couldn't do it. Of course, there is a way, right? If we develop a consciousness, I really want to fly. We can get a bird body in the next life, or the body on Siddhaloka if we have more pious credit. Okay, and there's ways to do that. My point is that our experience of the senses, it's very dependent. It's very conditional. Very conditional. Okay, that if someone's our hearing is within a frequency, definitely I experience as this body ages lower, less and less, a narrower and narrower frequency, and our sight, right? Let's say our sight. Let's say if the sun got blacked out, if it's at night, then our sight's very limited. Our sense of smell is very, very limited, right? So we're conditioned. So we can understand that, okay, I'm not the body, I'm not the finger, and we can make more distinctions. I'm not the mind, like Descartes, I think, therefore I am. He understood he's not the body. He didn't quite get the distinction. He's not the subtle material body. Okay, that we can go there. But there's definitely a distinction. Okay, so there's the seen, matter, and the seer, the spirit. All right, at the same time, like, all right, because I'm a conscious an entity with intelligence, I can move things, I can have direction. And I'll just say, for those who are connoisseurs of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where we're going here, this is very reminiscent of particularly some early chapters of Canto 2, very well-known verse, 2.2.35, long purport by Srila Prabhupada. And this kind of follows along with that, 2.2.35. I think we were there in our systematic reading about 3 or 4 years ago. I remember it was after we actually covered it in our systematic reading. A few weeks later, Bhakta Keith gave another class on that verse. He was inspired by the verse. Bhakta Keith was here at that time. I just remember that. So 2.2.35, Prabhupada talks about, how logically we can understand the difference between the seen and the seer. And then he goes on to logically how we can get there's a super seer, super soul. So, okay, so I can see it where there's no consciousness, like the watch, it's not going to move on its own. It needs a mover. So even we can think of, okay, so we can see the planets are moving. There must be a mover. Oh, it's me. But even in this body, right? The blood is circulating. Okay. The blood is circulating. It's very sophisticated, this body, right? Again, no one could, the most sophisticated computer, it doesn't even compare 1/trillionth of this, not even a trillionth of a trillionth of a percent of the corpuscles and the neurons. Okay. So I'd be fooling myself if I thought, I'm doing that. I don't even have a clue what's happening in digestion. The lymph system, I don't have a clue, but it's just like highly organized. Like I can like move the watch, I can do something, but there's so many bodily systems. What to speak of the universal body, the rotations of the planets, okay, but just this body. All right, so that means there is another seer. There's another seer. There's another seer. There's another intelligent entity, even more intelligent than the one called David Wolf. There's another intelligent entity. And that's what Maitreya is getting at here. We're getting into, like, in some ways, these first 4.5 chapters of the third canto, there's been a lot of pastime, also philosophy. Now we're getting into some thick philosophical aspects in the third canto. It'll go to pastime again for sure. So again, this is reminiscent of some like chapter 2 of Canto 2, and so there's another intelligent seer here, right? And so we understand that's called super soul. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetrajam chapimam vidi sora kshetreshu bharata kshetrashu gyanam gyayur yataj gyanam matam mamaha. Yeah. He says, in this body, there are 2 kshetrigyans. There are 2 knowers of the body, 2 conscious entities. There's the soul and the super soul. And then, so the super soul, well, what is that? Who is that? Krishna says, Sarvasya chamridi sanivisto matasmitir ganam apoanamcha. Krishna says, I am the super soul in the heart of all living entities. Sarvasya Chamri, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Videsha Arjuna Tishtati. Brahman Sarvabhutani Yanchurudani Maya. I am the supersoul in the heart of all living entities who are traveling as if on a machine made of material energy. Yeah. Yes. So, all right. So we have just distinctions, right? Knowledge is power. Intelligence, knowledge means the capacity to make distinctions between matter, between the, let's call it the seer. All right. Matter, the seer. But then there's the super soul. And then there's even the source of the super soul. Krishna says, right, at the end of chapter 10, Yad vibhuti mat sattvam srimad urjitam evava tam eva vagachatvam ekam mamatesham sha sambhavan. Krishna says, all these mighty, beautiful, glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So that spark, that's the super soul. Krishna goes on, Ateva Bhavnaitena Kim Gyatena Tavarjuna Vistabhyamidam Kritsnam Ekam Shenastito Jagat. He says, but what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge of the material nature? The detailed knowledge can help us, but once we come to realize, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavamantar Sarvam Prabhartate Iti Madhvabhajanti Man Buddha Bhava Samanvita. Krishna is the source of all spiritual material energies. Once those who get that, they worship him with all their hearts, with bhava. So Krishna says, with a single fragment of myself, and I pervade and support this entire universe. Okay, so that single fragment, that's the super soul. That's the Paramatma. Okay, and generally speaking, I would say, like other approaches to religion, spirituality, it's kind of safe to say, like the God of the Old and New Testament, the God of the Quran, that's the super soul. That's the Paramatma, or just a spark of a spark. You were, saying yesterday, I think, in comment to Yogeshwar Prabhu's class. There's the Chatur Vyuha. It's all, extensive, complicated arrangements. So just a spark of a spark of a spark of Krishna. So we got Krishna, Bhagavan, this Ete Chamsa Kalapumsa, Krishna Su Bhagavan Svayam. Krishna is the source of all incarnations, source of all avatars. So Krishna is the source. So, and then there's Krishna, and there's super soul, then there's the soul, then there's material energy. We can make further distinctions: subtle material energy, gross material energy. And there's Krishna, the origin of Vishnu, then there's the different Vishnus. Okay. So misidentifying the self, which is the seer, with the seen, then our life is misery. Then we're confused, we're in anxiety, we're insecure, because we're trying to take shelter in that which is just dream, is just the dream body, just the dream body. And so all right, it's so the Prabhupada quotes a very well-known verse from Bhagavad Gita here. He has a different translation than we have in Bhagavad Gita. Same meaning, of course, but Prabhupada is translating it differently to convey a nuanced, different meaning. So, Mahatmanas tumam partha devim prakritim ashrita vajanyanyanya manaso gyatva bhutatim aviyam. That's a verse where Krishna talks about the Mahatmas, 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Mahatmas take shelter of the internal energy. Okay, so that which is seen, that's the external energy. That's Bahiranga Shakti. Antaranga Shakti, that's the internal energy. So a truly great soul takes shelter of the internal energy. And that particularly for the conscious entity, the seer, in the human form, we've got choice. We've got choice. And our choice, we get to use our senses in a way that enhances our inner life, that enhances the self, turning towards the self, turning towards source, turning towards super soul, turning towards the very source of our being. Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sajjaka Bhugnoi, Shravanadi Shuddhachite Karya Udai. Right? So So Krishna is the soul of the soul, and love of Krishna is eternally situated. Love of God is eternally situated within the hearts of all living entities. Okay. And then the next verse after the Mahatma verse in the 9th chapter, Satatam Kirtiyantumam, Yatantascha Dritavrata, Satatam Kirtan. So Krishna says, do kirtan. When to do kirtan? Satatam, all the time, always, only always. Satatam Kirtiyantumam. Kirtan to who? I do kirtan. I do glorification of this political figure, or this entertainment star, or Shiva, or Kali. No, Satatam Kirtayantumam. Krishna is to me. Prabhupada emphasizes. Kirtan means for Krishna, or it could be a Vishnu Tattva. It could be Ramachandra, Sita Ram, a pure devotee of Krishna, not like that. Satatam Kirtan Yatantas Trajuja Namasyantas Chamam Bhakti Nityayukta Upasate. So taking shelter of the internal energy. So kirtan or japa, chanting. So this is about the senses. So the senses, the material senses are the seen. That's the external. And so bhakti, like you might say, yeah, sarvapadi vidyamoktam taprat vena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchite. So technically, from a scientific point of view, bhakti means engaging the senses in the internal energy. Engaging the senses in the internal energy. And so there's a program for each of the senses. Okay. So like the form of internal energy, the form of internal energy, that's yoga maya, as opposed to external energy, that's mahamaya. So the form of internal energy that we're most familiar with and recommended to connect with is Krishna in the form of Nam, in the form of his name, especially Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the more we engage our sense of speech and hearing in that form, then the more we get realization of who we are as the seer and not the seen, not the dream body. And bhakti, it's a very world-embracing process. There's a strategy, a program for engaging all the senses. So we just talk about like the function of the tongue to vibrate, and then the other function of the tongue to taste. So we all know and love that one, Krishna in the form of prasadam. And in that way, the tongue gets spiritualized, Atashi Krishna Namadi, Namavet Grayamindra Seva Mokehi Jivadasvayame Visparadyada. Spiritual life, Bhakti Yoga starts with the tongue. And of course, the eyes. So then we have so for the ears, there's Nam. For the tongue, there's Prasad and Kirtan. And for the eyes, there's the Vigraha. Internal, the forms of the internal energy, which are different than the forms of the external energy. So we engage our senses. We are engaged. Look at Vigraha means like the form of Srila Prabhupada, the form of Shri Shri Gaura Nitai. And so we have a process to engage each of the senses, even sense of touch. Right? But I know myself. I don't like reading online. I like touching the Bhagavatam. Okay, touching Srila Prabhupada's transcendental books. It purifies the senses. On book distribution, it's a thing. Even if they don't take the book, even if they just hold the book, they'll get attached to it. The soul gets attached through the sense of touch, through the sense of touch, and the sense of smell. So we offer with some devotion. We offer incense in the proper way, the sense of smell, and then as we become more and more purified, meaning more and more as we as we less and less identify with the scene, and more and more identify with the actual seer, the spirit soul, through devotional service to service to the supreme seer, the more we do that, then the more we're naturally seeing the seer everywhere, seeing Krishna everywhere, naturally. Brahma Samhita. Ekopya Sorachaitum Jagadanda Koti Achaktirasti Jagadanda Chayayadanda Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Pusham Tamaham Bhajami. That verse describes how Krishna is in every atom, and Krishna is the source of the universe. He's the super soul of not just the universe. The universe is relatively small, like a mustard seed in a bag of muggers. He's the super soul of the entire material creation. That's called Karanadakashai Vishnu or Mahavishnu. He's the super soul of each universe. That's called Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and he's the super soul in the heart of all living entities. And he's the super soul in every atom or every subatomic particle, in whatever the fundamental unit is. So now, for the most part, in the conditioned state, like I'm in the material conditioned state, thinking I am this body, this dream body. So for the most part, it means like if I expose myself to the material energy, I'm not going to realize Krishna in every atom, Krishna in the heart of every living entity. I'll get more and more entangled. I'll get more and more entangled in the dream body, the dream world, the dream drama. We gave the analogy at the beginning of the class, like the dream. So this is, actually, I don't know that he had any contact with the Vedas, but perhaps my favorite poem before I came to Krishna consciousness was by Edgar Allan Poe. He's known for scary short stories, but he has a poem called A Dream Within a Dream. So, and it really like struck me, whoa, this was before I came to, but I was actually beginning to read Prabhupada's books, it was like, so that's rightly said. Again, I don't know how much realization Edgar Allan Poe had. Just like yesterday on the Facebook Bhakti Yoga discussions, or a day or two ago, Mother Madhavi posted something from Emerson. And it's not that Emerson read Gita, but he was making some comment about how like the birds and the plants kind of like prove there's a higher God, like that. So I and just the way he worded it, it was like exactly something from the second canto of Bhagavatam about how the birds are Krishna's artistic sense. So I posted that. Now, I don't know that Emerson studied Bhagavatam, maybe he did, but he had some realization. So Edgar Allan Poe, A Dream Within a Dream. So that's it. So in one sense, this whole thing is a dream of Vishnu. Vishnu is kind of sleeping there. And then I'm in this, David Wolf drama dream world, and like that dream within a dream. It's accurate to say that. So so the more that we get spiritually strong by immersing our senses in ways that enhance our internal life, and realizing ourselves as not the body, realizing ourselves as the seer. More than that, though, Prabhupada was saying that's not enough. Jivara Srupohoi Krishnera Nischidas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti, Beta Prakash. Not just that we're spirit soul, that's a beginning, but that we're eternal servants of God, we're eternal servants of Krishna. And then we use our intelligence how to please Super Soul and the source of Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then naturally, more and more, then we're able to engage even the material energy in our relationships, in our daily dealings, in our profession, in our occupation. We get the intelligence how to engage the external energy into true spiritual energy, because it's being engaged in bhakti, in devotional service. Okay. So I'll read this text again. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 25. Maitreya speaking to Vidura. He appreciated Vidura for Vidura's wonderful questions and consciousness. Now Maitreya is getting into it, getting into the philosophy, the analysis. Text 25, Sava etasya samjastu shakti sadasad atmika maya nama mahabhaga yayedam nirmame vibhu. The Lord is the seer, and the external energy which is seen works as both cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. O greatly fortunate Vidura, this external energy is known as Maya, or illusion, and through her agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible. Before opening to questions and comments, I didn't cover the whole cause and effect thing. Prabhupada says, the material nature known as Maya is both the material and efficient cause of the cosmos, but in the background, the Lord is the consciousness for all activities. So we focus a lot on consciousness. Yeah, okay, just like, okay, we can say like there could be an immediate cause, maybe the meteorologists, they can say, oh, the immediate cause of this hurricane is like that, but maybe inefficient, maybe a remote cause was that some insect 9,000 miles away flapped its wings, and that created a little current, and that created the hurricane. That's the way everything's entangled with everything. So efficient cause and material cause. Just thought to touch on that aspect. Hare Krishna. Thanks for your attention to Srimad Bhagavatam. I welcome any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ladini Shakti.
Thank you for your class, Dhira, Govinda, Prabhu. And like what lastly, I guess I have a question, because you spoke about like realization of we are the soul and not the body, and then realization, okay, and what the soul is doing is the eternal servant of Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it's like the same, like Krishna like teaches Arjuna in the same way. In my experience, it's really much more easier to like understand that I'm a servant of Krishna than I am not this body. So I would like if you can like speak on that, if it's like necessarily like first this then that, or like what's going on there.
Okay, thanks for that, Ladini Shakti. Yeah, thanks for that. I'm reminded part of the discussion yesterday after Yogeshwar's class, we got how like, yeah, by understanding the self, we can understand God. By understanding God, we can understand self. It goes both ways. So similarly, by understanding through this sort of analytical process, we're not the body, we're the soul. It's sattvic, it's like sattvic. They required, also yesterday in the discussion, Yogeshwar and Malini were talking about like, these realizations require like, it's like a meditation. They're like, got it? But like, it's like a meditation. And I like meditate and you'll get that realization. Just like we each might get different nuance and realization around, these different subtleties. So this requires like a peaceful, sattvic internal environment, even to do this analysis, right? Like I went to school and college and this and that, but till I came to Prabhupada's books, like I wasn't able to, oh, I'm not the body. Never thought about that. Oh, okay. It's like, society doesn't encourage sattva, internal introspection like that. It's not really encouraged. It's not sat yuga. It's a different yuga, you know. So yeah, I'm not the finger. I'm the owner of the finger. Okay. And then if we're sincere, and then some kind of stop there, and it can become a sort of impersonal thing. I am God. But if we're sincere, then we realize, oh, there's a higher intelligence. Naturally, I'm the servant. Okay. But okay, so realizing we're not the body, ideally, bahunam janmanamante, gyanavanmam prapajante, vasudeva sarvamiti samahatmasdurlabha. Krishna says in seventh chapter, the 19th verse of 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, through that process of jnana, I realize I'm not this, I'm not that. Oh, I'm non-material entity. One comes to devotional service if they're sincere. And as you said, but then it goes the other way too. That just like, I don't know about all this subtle analysis, but I'm a servant of Krishna. Hi, let me take prasad. Let me serve prasad. Kirtan. Let me do kirtan. Okay. Oh, go out. Distribute Prabhupada's books. Rise early. Okay, rise early. Okay, even though my mind went, rise early. Mongolic. I'm a servant of Krishna. Okay. That will lead to fuller realization that I'm not the material body. I'm something spiritual. So sincere endeavor to understand I'm not the body. I'm an atomic unit of sentience. That's the seer. That'll lead to devotional service. And it's like, we're not getting that, whatever. Just engage in devotional service. That's the goal. And that will naturally lead to realization of who we are and who we're not. So it goes both ways. Yeah, that's why, like, Prabhupada gives us, like a verse like this, and this whole section, there's some detailed, intricate analysis. And the idea of these details is not to get like lost in intellectualism, but the idea is to approach Maitreya's words to Vidura with a spirit of devotion. At the same time, there's a lot of intellectual, philosophical content. And at the same time, Prabhupada gave us just active devotional service. Do this for Krishna, do that. Yeah, to prepare these preparations, prepare a feast for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance today. Engage in that, and we get the realization. And engaging in devotional service with our mind, with our intelligence, with our hands, with our eyes. That's the journey. That's the path, and simultaneously, it's the goal. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Damayanti.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. I heard you say these words the other day, and then you said them again, and I don't really understand how, like, what they mean exactly, and how they're like not that good for devotion. And it's reductionistic, mechanistic, and deterministic.
Yeah.
How did you say those in like a chunk and together? And like, what's wrong with them, and what, I guess, could you clarify what that's about and why it's not so supportive
Okay.
for devotion?
Sure. Yeah. I know in recent weeks, including during class, Mother Malini has sometimes quoted this scholar from Belgium, and what he says is it's very accurate. He says that so these mechanistic, reductionistic, deterministic approaches, they're not good because they destroy life. They destroy life. Okay. So as far as what they mean, it means that, okay, so they're real related, but if we want to disentangle some of the threads there. So reductionistic means that everything can be reduced to mathematical formulas, and the biology can be reduced to chemistry. Chemistry can be reduced to physics. Physics can be reduced to mathematics, and we can understand everything just through that reductionistic way. There's no reason no reason to even postulate about consciousness, what to speak of God and supreme consciousness.
Or reason.
Or reason. Thanks for that. And here's the thing. Okay, the deterministic, that basically, if we knew the position, velocity, meaning speed and direction, velocity is speed and direction. If we knew the position, speed, and direction of every subatomic particle, we could predict everything about the future. We could predict everything about the future. So it takes away the seer. It takes away free will. Okay. And similarly with mechanistic, means like everything moves just like a machine, And there's no consciousness in the machines of this body or the body of the animals or the plants or certainly not the stars or like that. Okay, so mechanistic, I mean, I gave a brief review there, mechanistic, reductionist, deterministic. So these are philosophies characterized by, or let's say manifested in modern empirical science. But these philosophies were there at the time of Bhagavad Gita, and nothing new under the sun. And they take different forms. And I'm saying material empirical science, because there's also spiritual science. And spiritual science is non-mechanistic. Okay, so like Bhakti Yoga, it's a spiritual science. And with spiritual science, we can and do use the empirical methods, meaning methods we can use our senses, and we include consciousness. We can say in theories that are mechanistic, reductionistic, deterministic, we can say consciousness is the missing link, but more than that, it's the missing foundation. So those philosophies, they're kind of closed down to the possibility of life. Means like everything's just dead matter, and dead matter combines in a form to create this body. So now when I say spiritual science, so like, okay, we have the three gunas described in particularly chapters 14, 17, and 18 of Bhagavad Gita. So we understand there's tamas, rajas, and sattva. So to the extent that we, as the experiencer, seer, to the extent that we dead matter combined randomly to experience suffering, yes, to experience suffering, and that's it. Because like completely, yeah. Ladini just made a comment on chat, because like if I think I'm just this like bag of chemicals, bag of stool, well, of course I'm going to need psychiatric medication, right? I mean, like obviously. So to the extent that I implicate ourselves with rajas and tamas, then mechanistic, reductionistic, and deterministic theories, they do apply. Then we are like machines on the material energy to the extent that we identify with the lower modes. That's why, like in the lower species, the lower species, it's basically mechanistic. Maybe they have a little freedom of choice. Okay, like maybe I'll sniff here or sniff there. And in the human form, it's the same principle. To the extent that we associate and allow ourselves to be influenced by sattva, or better than sattva, Shuddha sattva, then the free will shines brightly. And then, and this is essentially why sciences like physics, chemistry, biology, they're called exact sciences, whereas psychology, sociology, anthropology, political science, economics, they're called inexact sciences. Because in the inexact sciences, you're dealing with spirit souls in human bodies, and so there's more free will, and that's why they're not near as amenable to just like studying rocks like that. So that's a brief overview. Thank you, Damayanti. Bhakti Oasis.
Hare Krishna, dear Govinda. Thank you for your beautiful class this morning. I feel so much resonance with the sharing that you're giving and all the amazing questions that everyone's asking. I wanted to bring this up because it's not often that we talk about directly mechanistic, reductionist, theories and philosophy. And so one of the things prior to me finding Krishna consciousness directly that I found so painful about just the modern way of thinking, the modern way of being, is that everything's pretty meaningless. Everything has a big lack of meaning behind it. And for example, like a field has to be roped off. No one can go there. It's a parcel of land that's for sale. And when we sell it, we can pave it and build a Costco. And suddenly that's a perfect place for everyone to congregate, because we've given it this useful meaning of being a Costco parking lot. And the field itself, the trees, the flowers, the animals living there, they're basically meaningless. They're just not even useful in any conceptual way, unless we rope it off and call it a useful recreational area. And, I think this for me was, less than consciously the philosophy that I was raised with, that basically everything's useless and meaningless unless I or a conglomerate, decide to give it meaning. Everything's pretty much just ripe for the taking. It's all raw, useless materials that just exist around us, including animals. That's why we have the slaughterhouses, including the deforesting of the rainforest. It just becomes this cycle of, even on some level, if we all have a Paramatma connection, we understand that what we're doing is detrimental to ourselves and everyone else. The overriding philosophy is, well, of course I can do whatever I want, because this tree, this rock, this area of land that was created is just all chemicals. It's all chemicals and it's all for us to use. So coming from a Krishna consciousness perspective and being a Grihastha and, now owning a home and having some land and maybe eventually having more land one day, is there a way, or is there a perspective, especially because thinking about raising a child in Krishna consciousness and being a leader in our family, to consciously and purposefully explore utilizing everything in Krishna service, because everything has meaning inherently. I'd love to hear the non-reductionist, mechanistic philosophy of the science of why things exist, like open fields and trees and rocks. And yeah, you're right, like animals are pretty restricted. They get to sniff or decide which piece of grass to eat. Just is there and I know that's a huge topic, but is there just like a little overarching philosophy that we can put in place in our daily practice, so that when we're in our yards cutting our grass and maintaining our shrubs, it feels a little less painful? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhakti and Danielle. Thanks for your sharing questions. Yeah, philosophy, mechanistic, reductionistic, deterministic, when that's seen as the complete all in all, then there's really no basis for morality, right? There's no basis for morality. So everything is just random subatomic particles colliding. So let's say if I take this knife or this gun and I rearrange some subatomic particles, why is this arrangement worse than this arrangement? Okay. I mean, you might have some sentimental response, but if you stick to the mechanistic, deterministic philosophy, there's no sound response. So, okay, as far as overarching, well, yeah, so Ananda Mayo Vyasat, or Eko Bahusham Ananda Mayo Vyasat, means, okay, so the purpose of all energies, including the energy that we are as the personal spirit, soul, material energy, is to expand Krishna's bliss. So then, to quote Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Dvete Bhadra Bhaja Gana Sabo Manudharm. So Lord Chaitanya says, from a materialistic point of view, mechanistic, reductionistic, deterministic, this idea of good or bad, it's all a mistake. It's all nonsense. He says, okay, but then absolute morality, then there's spiritual duality, right? So like that, those actions, those thoughts, those words that increase Krishna's bliss, then that's absolutely good. And those thoughts, actions, words that alienate us further from realizing who we are as in the servants of Krishna, then that's absolutely bad. So that can be a reference point, including when we're killing living entities. Every day we're all killing living entities, right? And so and if we're killing living entities by stepping on ants and even eating our vegetables, and there's killing involved. So to the extent that our actions are truly to please Krishna, then not only do we not get material karma and we not get more entangled, but even those living entities who they leave their body, they actually get much spiritual benefit. They take leaps and jumps on the evolutionary spectrum towards the human form like that. And to the extent that I'm doing it for my sense gratification, then that, I caused a lot of pain to that ant by stepping on its body and crushing it. So at some point, someone for their enjoyment is going to cause pain to my body. It might happen later today, might happen in 50 lifetimes. So to the extent we're doing it for Krishna, then that's the true win-win. Okay, make it a little more grounded, so tadviti pranipatena paripashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gyanam gyaninas tattvadarshina. That's a cornerstone verse of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, in all the Vedas, that's the key spiritual master verse, and it relates to this verse from Maitreya. So just as Krishna says to Arjuna, just try to learn the truth by approaching spiritual master. Inquire submissively and humbly render service. Approach, inquire, serve, and such a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, Gyaninas Tattvadarshana, such a pure devotee has seen the truth. Means such a pure devotee that they have no confusion about the seen and the seer, right? They're understanding that the material energy works more or less according to mechanistic reductionistic laws, but the seer, the consciousness, the consciousness is transcendental to that. Aparayam yataspanyam prakritim vidime pram jiva bhuta mahabhaho yayadam dayate jagat. So Krishna says there's the material energy, but then there's the superior energy, this jiva soul. So the pure devotee, just like Krishna, is seeing clearly, no confusion about the field and the knower of the field, the seer and the seen. So we know that if we're pleasing Krishna by pleasing Srila Prabhupada. So we can look at, okay, so this mowing the lawn or driving to the mall or whatever we're doing, okay, to the extent like, is this pleasing to Srila Prabhupada? Then the living entities that depart from their body as a result, to the extent that it is pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, he knows what's pleasing to Krishna. So we know, I don't know Krishna. I'm endeavoring to know Srila Prabhupada, and he's clear what's pleasing and not pleasing to him. So he says pleasing, then we're not implicated in karma, and then we're actually engaging ourselves in all living entities in a truly interior life, a truly internal life. And to the extent that my actions, words, and thoughts are not pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, then I'm implicated, more and more implicated in the dream world and implicating others there, and I'm in that action and reaction materially. So increasing Krishna's bliss, that's why all energies exist and all persons exist.
Hi, Krishna dear, that's very encouraging for me. I am reminded in your sharing of a pastime I read about some temple devotees who had a really overgrown Tulasi Devi bush, really overgrown. And Prabhupada came to visit their temple. I don't remember where it was. Maybe you've heard the story. And they wanted to ask him if they could trim the bush, trim her. And Prabhupada was like, absolutely not. And so the bush, she just kept growing and she overtook the sidewalk. They couldn't even tie her back anymore. And Prabhupada said, yeah, that's fine. It's perfect. Let her grow. Because it wasn't about the sidewalk. It was about her being able to flourish in her environment. And so if we're pleasing Srila Prabhupada, it might not look like what we would think it should look like, or what we would commonly see if we are the center of the world, giving purpose to everything. It's very clarifying for me. Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Dhira.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I like we said, because like sometimes what's pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, maybe it aligns with my intuition and what I think is common sense and my experience, but definitely not all the time. My intuition, common sense, experience, that's materially conditioned. So I like that example, because I would have thought, oh, let's keep the sidewalk clear. You know, I would have had other considerations, but Srila Prabhupada has that pure bhakti vision. Damayanti and Ladini. Damayanti, I saw you had your hand up.
I just had a quick sharing that I remember when we were just starting to practice Krishna consciousness, and our kids were 2 and 4, and within a year, you know, Cyprian was 3. I remember him seeing a flower and saying, "For Prabhupada," and it was like I wasn't raised like that, but he's being raised like flowers for Prabhupada, and now I feel totally conditioned, like flowers could be picked to bring to the altar and, you know, to offer to Prabhupada. Anyway, that's just a little example, but we can retrain the mind going throughout the day, like to see like how can this experience, or how can this material be, you know, how can this experience be used for serving Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, it's cute to see my child being raised like that, even though I wasn't.
Thanks for that, Damayanti. Yeah, that's it. Prabhupada uses that term so much. Conditioned means we're conditioned we're conditioned to accept as reality something that's not reality. Oh, this is flower. This flower is for my enjoyment. No, that's not reality. And so you're training your children. Guru Nasasyat, Svajano Nasasyat, Moche de Samopeta Mitchum. That's a verse from Bhagavatam, says parents are responsible to train their children to not be materially conditioned, to see all of Krishna's energy, including the so-called material energy, as being for pleasing Krishna, for pleasing Srila Prabhupada, a flower for Srila Prabhupada. Very wonderful. Ladini Shakti.
Hare Krishna. I'm lost on my phone now a little, but sorry. I just want to say that I appreciate this conversation, and then like the devotee still has a lot of compassion. So like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are studying the Mrgari, the hunter pastime. And he, like Narada Muni comes and he wants to offer his obeisances, but that's for sure pleasing to the spiritual master. But first he like sweeps the ants away so he doesn't hurt them. So I just like, we also have the garden, and I think about it a lot because there is like a lot of bugs and, you know, we don't know what to do with them. But it's like, it's definitely not like a whimsical, like even if it's like really true, you know, and I can look at myself that, you know, it's not for sure 100% really true, but okay, even if it's 100% really true, then the devotee still like wants to minimize the violence.
Yeah. Yes, thanks for that. Yeah, right. For sure. In pleasing our spiritual master and endeavoring to please Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, and that's a vital element of the mentality to minimize violence by existing in this realm, by walking, by moving around. We're going to kill, by breathing, we're going to kill living entities, and that's the consciousness is to minimize violence, and the transcendental principle is to the extent that we're truly pleasing the pure devotee, then even those living entities, bodies who are harmed, the soul gets benefit. And we don't want to take that as an excuse to be reckless. I'm doing it for Krishna. And then we do more violence than necessary. We don't want to use it as a weak excuse. True. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hare Krishna, thanks for
Well,
your...
if no one has, I have one. If
Yes.
I can. I'm reading Srila Prabhupada's biography from Satsvarup. Is
Yes.
it correctly said? Satsvarup.
The Leelamrita.
Okay, yeah, I read it in Czech language, so maybe the name is a little different. But anyway, I read it a few times, but I always like finished when they go to San Francisco, and then I
Okay.
start over again. But this is the first time that I'm like actually reading through the book.
Yeah.
And I got to the part when they are opening the temples in India.
Okay.
And there is like something going on for me, like how like extremely difficult the conditions of the devotees were, or
Yeah.
at least that's how it is described in the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there is something like really unsettling for me.
Yeah. The devotees, they went through a lot of physical hardship, very, very austere in ways. So, okay. So I hear this. It's like something's disturbing for you there.
Yeah, I almost feel like I always stopped before that in the past, and I think Krishna protected me because I wasn't ready. But even now reading it, it's like, yeah, it feels disturbing. Like, I think it's like, it's like the feeling of like doing this like spiritual practice requires so much that I cannot do it. You know, this sort of thing is coming up from reading it. Like, I cannot ever please Srila Prabhupada. You know I could like take it maybe somewhere like, you know, humility and admiring the devotees who could do it. But I also take it to like, yeah, this is like impossible ever for me, and I don't want to like, you know, give too much.
And the reality of those thoughts can feel disheartening, can feel discouraging.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can certainly, when I'm reading or hearing about how different devotees sacrifice for Prabhupada, you know, and are sacrificing, I know I'm not ready for that. I'm not at that level of sincerity. And that's true. And, you know, or let's say we say, okay, if we look at like a devotee like Jesus, okay, like, you know, if we really think what he went through, it's just, oh, my, you know, it's just like, I'm nowhere near, you know, or Haridas Thakur, Prahlad Maharaj, or, yeah, you talk about, I've also, yeah, some of those pastimes in India of those devotees who were serving Prabhupada in the early days, building the Indian temples. Yeah, some of that's like, that's too much. That's too much, like that. At the same time, like, okay, you know what, pure. So at the same time, you know, I can say for sure there are some like some who are aspiring to do bhakti yoga, and if they were to consider the life of Ladini Shakti Devi Dasi and what she's giving and how she's giving it, they would think, oh, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, people say it actually.
Yeah. So when I hear about, you know, true pastimes that are like way beyond where I'm at, even like way beyond where I even want to be at, you know, like, oh, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to be ready for that. You know, then it's just like, I don't want to get discouraged. More for me, it's like, I want to like, let me be inspired by these souls, you know, let me be inspired by these souls, and let me do my service today with my, you know, mixture of comfort and all that, you know, but let me do my service today, and I trust the process.
Yeah, I appreciate it all that you said, and especially that, yeah, especially that like relatability. Like I don't ever want to get to that level.
Thank you, Ladini. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.